Well, 50 years of service is being celebrated today, and it's certainly my honor to have served you, the people of Aroostook County and state of Maine, for 43 of those years. I'd like to talk today a little bit about advocacy, because that's the core of why this organization exists. Public policy will drive change, and you may not be aware, but this agency was instrumental in the formation of what we call the Maine Home-Based Care Program today. But 35 years ago, that home-based care program didn't exist. The state of Maine would spend about $36,000 a year to place a person in a nursing home, and not one single penny was being spent to help people stay in their home where they really wanted to be, to provide home-based care for them. So this agency was selected for a pilot project to see if home-based care could be realistic. Could a person who qualified for nursing home placement really stay within their home, and could we do it in a cost-effective way? Well, we worked for a year on that demonstration, and I believe that we served around 15 people who qualified for nursing home care, who chose to remain at home with support services that the Agency on Aging could provide. Well, in that year, we showed that people really could be kept at home, and more importantly, for about 1/3 of the cost of nursing home placement. So that was an important number, we thought, but convincing the powers that be down in Augusta, we knew that that would be a challenge. The board president at that time was former Maine Senator Jim McBride from Farnham, and Jim got us a meeting with the members of the Appropriations Committee and the Health and Human Services Committee. Wasn't a formal hearing. I think people did it as a courtesy to Jim, but he used his power to kind of pull that together for us. The challenge that we had here in the Agency on Aging was these people who we had served with the program were all homebound. And we knew that the best way to convince people that home-based care could really work was the voices of the people who had actually received the services and who had been enabled to stay at home. This was back in the day that video recording devices, at home, and those kind of cameras were just kind of coming into being. But we work with a cable news TV station out of Van Buren, run by kids from the Van Buren High School, to help us videotape some of the people that had received the services. And these videotape sessions were done right in the home. In many cases, the family caregivers were there, were able to speak also. Well, we thought that that would work pretty well, so we got the videotape done, and I traveled down to Augusta to this meeting with the legislators, and had the opportunity to put that videotape into the machine and to start it up. Explaining to them that these people couldn't come because of the abilities that they had. And it became really obvious as they began to see the video how important the program was to the people. I had the data there to show the cost effectiveness of the program, and we had all of our numbers in order, but the important thing was that videotape. In one of the with one of the individuals, I noticed that one of the legislators, as she was watching that tape, tears began to flow down her cheeks. And I didn't know quite what was going on there, but as we finished the tape, she explained that the lady that was on the tape, older lady from Van Buren, who happened to be an Agency on Aging board member, one of the founding board members, was her third grade teacher. And it was her favorite teacher who had made quite an impression on this woman, this legislator. And this legislator was known for not supporting any kind of new state spending. She was a real tough nut to crack. But the fact that we had that videotape there and she saw her beloved teacher from way back in her youth on that tape talking about how important this program was and how it enabled her to stay at home, it really had an effect. In fact, it won over that legislator, and we could depend on her later for support. That meeting was an informal meeting, really, of legislators, but it led to the agencies on aging in Maine, all 5 agencies on aging, agreeing to try to establish what Aroostook had done on a statewide basis, and we called it the Home-Based Care Program. We got the support of several legislators to introduce a bill to fund a program called Maine Home-Based Care, and we were asking for $1 million. Well, the public hearing was scheduled on this bill. The public hearing had to be moved from the State House, which is where normally public hearings are held, to the Augusta Civic Center. We had done a good job in letting older people throughout the state know that there may be a possibility of getting an alternative to nursing home care that might allow people to stay in their homes, which is where they wanted to be. There were busloads of people that showed up for that hearing. In fact, we didn't fill the Augusta Civic Center, but every chair that was down on the gymnasium floor was full, and the bleachers had a good number of people in them too. So if you could picture it, there we are on the gymnasium floor. We've got a days of tables with legislators, Appropriations Committee and Health and Human Services Committee, kind of about 12 inches above the floor. And all of these people surrounding them there for this home-based care program. I had the idea that, how can we couldn't use a videotape that we had, not in that kind of a hearing, but how could we do something visually to convince people that this program was vitally important? Well, I knew Appropriations Committee members were focused on numbers. Prior to the hearing, I took $168 bills and taped them together end to end, rolled them up. I was the lead-off person in doing the testimony. Well, I shouldn't say that. The sponsoring legislators were the lead-off. But I was the primary person really who had the experience in having done this demonstration program to explain what the program did. Rather than focus on that, we took that roll of $1 bills, 168 of them, and one of the staff of the agency, a man named Stuart Duncan from Fort Fairfield. Stuart had farmed all his life and was doing some work for the Agency on Aging at that time. Stuart took one end of the bills, and as I was explaining the program, Stuart was unwinding the bills, and I had my finger through them, and by the time Stuart got done, those $168 bills stretched almost the full length of the basketball court. So Stuart was way down there, and I was up here, and we held that up, and they didn't know what what's this guy doing unrolling the bills? So I said, each one of these dollar bills represents $1 million. And this year, the state of Maine is going to spend $168 million caring for people in nursing homes. And then I held up a single $1 bill. I said, this is what we're asking for, to keep people where they want to be, at home. And there was a lot of cheering. Oh, the place went wild. And, that visual right there, that captured the fact that certainly a disproportionate amount was being spent to keep people where they really didn't want to be, and it was possible to keep people at home. Well, the home-based care program passed that year. We got our first appropriation. It wasn't a lot of money, but That's when the program started. We kind of take it for granted today, but it had its basis in advocacy through the work of the Aroostook Agency on Aging, and that's a good story. It's a good lesson for us all. We can influence change in public policy by the work that we do.